Financial literacy, if you don't understand the game, you can't play it. But think of the game Monopoly. To play a game, you have to know the rules, and the rules change constantly, so you have to be up on them. And if you see money as a game, which it is, it's not always fun, I grant you, but it is a bit of a game because the rules keep changing. And if you're able to see it that way, we gamify everything. Everything's got an app, everything's got badges for this, that, and the other thing. I want a gold star for doing something. You can find any of those tools if they're going to help you, or you can find an accountability partner, an advisor, and a coach, and somebody who's going to help you make better decisions, because we're not armed. We're not armed to do it. We don't have the training or education to make our own decisions.
Welcome to the Bricks and Banks podcast, where real estate meets real wealth. Whether you're building from the ground up or stacking your paper to the ceiling, Steph breaks down property power plays and money moves you can act on. From first-time buyers to seasoned investors, this podcast is your blueprint for financial freedom through real estate, business, and investment. Subscribe now. It's time to build your future. This is Bricks and Banks with Steph.
Before we dive into the conversation, I want to let you know that this episode is a paid partnership with BetterHelp. You know what's interesting? We all have these patterns in our lives. The ways we react when we are stressed out, hurt, or disappointed. Maybe shutting people out or walking yourself into exhaustion. Or that voice in your head that says you're not good enough. For me, it's shutting people out. And here is the thing. We know that these patterns aren't helping us. We can see them clearly, but breaking them, that's a completely different story. I used to think I could just power through on my own, that time will heal everything, or I just needed to be stronger. But the truth is, some cycles are nearly impossible to break on your own. Not because you're weak, but because you're so close to see the full picture. That's why having outside support, real professional support, becomes a game changer. When you have someone who is trained to help you understand why these patterns exist and give you actual tools to help change them, everything shifts. You're not just surviving anymore. You're actually on your path to healing. That's why I'm partnering with BetterHelp today. BetterHelp is on a mission to make starting therapy easier. They will connect you with a credentialed therapist who is trained to listen to you and give you helpful, unbiased advice, ensuring confidentiality throughout the process. You just get to fill out a questionnaire and you'll be matched with a therapist as soon as possible. And if that's not the right fit, don't fret. You can easily switch therapists at any time at no extra cost. To get started, head on to betterhelp.com/bricksandbanks. That is betterhelp.com/bricksandbanks to get 10% off your very first month of therapy. I'll make sure to leave a link in the description so you can get right on. Breaking the cycle starts with one step, and this could be yours. Going to therapy is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. BetterHelp makes therapy simple with 10% off your first month of therapy to help you get started. So what are you waiting for? Remember, you don't have to do this alone. A problem shared is a problem half solved. And yeah, guys, we are live. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another amazing episode of the Bricks and Banks podcast. Today, I have an exciting guest on the show. He's none other than Eric Brotman. He is the host of the podcast, Graduates Do Not Retire. Graduates. He has spent over 25 years helping families, professionals to rewrite their financial future. He's the CEO of BFG Financial Advisors. He's a certified financial planner. He is an accredited real estate planner. He is a certified private wealth advisor. So, guys, we're in good hands. We are in good hands. And like I said, he's the host and the founder of the university, Don't Retire, Graduates. He taught the next generation of planners, served at the Maryland State Retirement and Pension Board, and has testified before the Senate on financial literacy. Today's episode, we are breaking down how to build graduation-ready life and the real meaning of financial independence. And Eric is going to share his story because he's on that path. He's about to graduate from life. Eric, it's amazing to have you on the show. Welcome.
Steph, it's good to be here. I hope I'm not graduating from life. Graduating from my role.
From your role,
graduating from
yes.
life is not something I'm ready for quite yet. But no,
No,
I'm looking forward to this.
You're graduating from this life you've always known.
Yeah, I mean, after it's been 32 years, which is absurd. I don't feel that old.
No, you're not old. It's you've given so much. So what would you say is that thing that's kept you in the game for this long?
Well, I think the love of the game. This is something that I knew I wanted to do in high school. I mean,
Okay.
So I actually found some journal entries recently. We're packing up our office and doing some renovations, and I came across some archive stuff, and this is about as juicy as it gets, but I found something that I wrote when I was 18 years old. And one of the things that I had written is, am I going to teach or am I going to be a financial consultant? That's the way I phrased it at the time. And it turns out the answer was both. The answer's both. I get to teach every day, and I get to work with people and help them with money, and it's just been it's been a life's passion. And so I'm never retiring. You heard it here first. I'm not retiring. I think retirement is dreadful and no one should do it. And I know that sounds like, my gosh, if retiring is daytime TV and golf and shuffleboard, I'll pass. I don't want anything to do with that.
Do you watch TV though? Because you're so busy.
I watch hockey. I'm an ice hockey fan, so I'll watch that periodically. But if I miss it, I miss it. I mean, we like anything else, you make time for the things that matter, and that doesn't matter very much. So if it happens to be that I've got some downtime, sure. But otherwise, I don't watch television very often.
Yeah, who does these days? I mean, there's lots to do than watching TV.
Well, somebody's watching, or they wouldn't keep doing it. Somebody's watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So today's episode, we want to delve into your core philosophy of life, which is don't retire, graduate. Eric Brotman on building wealth, purpose, and financial independence. So when you decided that you were either going to teach or be an accountant or do both, what steps did you have to take at that point? Did you have like a mentor, or you just went full on using your instincts?
Great question. I went to university and I studied English and psychology, not finance. And I learned to read and write and research and think and do speaking and do a lot of different things that have helped me in my career. And I used to get teased. What are you going to do with an English major? And I'd say anything I want. I can do anything with this. I haven't pigeonholed myself into something. And when I came out of school, I went to work for a big brokerage firm here in Maryland on the East Coast. And I was in the legal department. Because like a lot of English majors, you're either going to teach or go to law school, or there's a path. And I fell in love with the financial business and said, this is definitely for me. And so that was 1994. And when I got into the business, I started the first 5 or so years, I was really on my own, and I was just trying to do it my way. And I had some success, but nothing extraordinary, but I had some success. And then I found my mentor. I found my mentor in 1999, who really changed my life, my philosophy, opened my eyes, and he has been to this day a great friend. We spent 4 years working together. And then, when I went off to start my own firm in 2003, it wasn't a divorce. It was a graduation then, where he sort of said, go get them. You're ready, go get them. And that was such a wonderful thing for him to do. He didn't have to do that, but we've stayed in touch. In fact, we're having coffee next week. So it's, we're still very friendly. He was very instrumental to me. And, now I get to wear the other hat, and I get to mentor and train and coach and teach financial advisors, not only the ones in our firm who we have 10 and I work with them all the time, but also doing consulting for other financial advisory firms around North America. I get a chance to work with lots of advisors, and that's a ton of fun. I feel like I'm paying it forward.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's good that you have that mentors and you're still keeping the relationship. It goes to show the quality of person you are and the quality of relationships you've built over the years, because a lot of people can't keep relationships. They just find it difficult to stick to one person. Be it romantic or otherwise, they just like they're cutting. And that's one thing I look out for in people. If you don't have a lot of long-term friendships, it's sort of a red flag. I don't know what you think about that.
Well, I'm not going to not going to discuss my romantic relationships on your
Not
show.
romantic wise, but like normal, like
No,
your typical friendships with people. What do you
my
think
my
about that?
closest friends, a lot of my very closest friends are from high school and college. I mean,
Exactly.
it's harder as an adult. It's not as easy to make friends in the workplace because there's
Sure.
sort of lines that you draw that you don't
Yeah.
bring work home with you. You don't take it home to work and all of that. So you don't get to know people on the same level, I think, as an
Mm,
adult. And so the relationships that you make when you're a teenager and when you're in your early 20s, hopefully are lifelong. I mean, they know where your
yeah.
bodies are buried, and certainly I have some of those. So I got to be nice to those people.
Definitely. Hey everyone. All right, listen up. If you're a UK homeowner or landlord, you're going to want to hear this. I just partnered with Utility Warehouse, and honestly, I wish I'd knew this sooner. Here's the tea. Utility Warehouse is the only place where you can bundle your energy, mobile, and home insurance into one simple monthly bill. No more juggling 5 different logins. No more surprise hikes, no more bill headaches. But the best part, most people actually save money just by switching, like without doing anything fancy. Quick highlights: you can save up to £276 in a year and cash back every time you shop. That's about up to 10%. Up to £150 welcome credits. If you're stuck in a contract, they'll pay you up to £400 to help you switch. Winter bills are about to slap everyone, but not you, if you move smart. So here's what I'm doing. I'm offering a free utility consultation to show you exactly what you could save by switching to Utility Warehouse. Click the link in the description and see how much you can save. Let's put money in your pocket this winter. Don't sleep on this because your bills definitely wouldn't. Cheers. So talking about the philosophy that has brought you this far, which is the don't retire, graduate. For someone who still thinks retirement is all about stopping work, playing golf, and sipping tea, how would you explain this idea of graduating into the next phase of life rather than retreating from it?
I think someone should try it, practice it. Take
Mm,
6 months. Take 6 months without purpose at some point. And when I say without purpose, I don't mean that to be mean. I mean it because that's what it is. It can be really not only lonely, but it can be pretty intimidating to just sort of say, "No, what am I going to do today?" And I worry about people who retreat. People who, I mean, we have destroyed the English language here in the US. The language is yours, and we know that. And when you say you're going to retire, you mean go to bed.
yeah.
And so the word retirement to me is like taking a long sleep, literally. And that makes no sense. So I,
Mm,
I think it's important to move towards something, almost like you're leveling up, using your wisdom, using your experience. I mean, in cultures all over the world, think about who always had the biggest tent. It was the elders. That's who you went to when you had the big issues, the things that they had
yeah.
seen before. You needed the wisdom of it. And yet we put our older folks, our seniors, out to pasture like they're not valuable anymore. Makes no sense. And the older I
That's
get, the
true.
less I want to be put out to pasture, quite frankly. So it makes even more sense now. And so I think if you were to try a sabbatical, you would be bored in a very short period of time. You have certain number of projects around the house. Okay, maybe there's some trips you want to take, some things you want to do. Maybe there's family you want to see,
Yeah.
but you eventually run out of those things. The bucket
Yeah.
list is not enough, especially if you're young. If you're 55, 65, even 75, you should have a lot of gas in the tank left. Why make it the end when you can make it the beginning? So I believe that retirement is not the absence of work, Steph. I believe it is the absence of needing to work. I think if you can reach financial independence,
Mm-hmm.
then you can do almost anything you want, including work, but not required to. And when you're doing something for fun, it feels different than when you're doing something to make rent.
This is definitely a mindset shift moment for me because most people think about, oh, you get to the peak of financial independence and you just rest. No, you're not supposed to rest. You're supposed to now live out your purpose because a lot of people have been chasing their bag all their life and now they've gotten the bag. What are you going to do with it? So it's using the time to basically live out your purpose. You're living out your purpose because you found it. It's just that you didn't have the money to live it out. So at that point
That's
of
right.
financial independence, you get to live it out.
Think about
And
what we give to the world. Think
yeah,
about our legacy. Think about what we give to the world. When we're young, what we have is energy and time and enthusiasm. We don't necessarily have a lot of money. We don't have a lot of experience. And as we get older, that pendulum swings. You
sure.
talk about time, talent, and treasury. Well, time becomes
Mm,
more difficult as you get older, especially if you're a parent or you're taking care of older relatives or other. I mean, time becomes more difficult as you get older. But talent grows, and treasury, if we do it right, grows, and so you can give
mm,
back in totally different ways, and that means that it's a continuum of making the world a better place because you're here, and it shouldn't stop just because you're finished working. Now, if you do a job you hate and you can't wait to be done, that is very different.
that's
And people
different.
do. There are
Yeah.
people who get that sick feeling on a Sunday night because they know they got to go to work the next day. And to me, that's very sad. If that describes any of the people listening, if you really hate what you're doing and can't wait to be
Mm,
done, you're not alone. There's a lot of people like that. And if you're able to reach financial independence, it doesn't mean you quit and rest for the rest of time. It might mean that you say, take this job and shove it. I'm going to find something else to do, whether it's for money or not. You find something else to do that brings you joy. Joy
yeah.
is the key. I mean, and if there's no joy at work, and let's face it, it's still work. But if there's no joy in it, then you're probably doing the wrong thing for a living. And there are people who are stuck. Except there are people who are stuck because they've been trained to do a single thing or to be in a single industry, and the industry is
Mm,
changing and the world's getting different. And so I think it can be a really tough thing. And so I think education should be a lifelong continuum, not something that stops when you're
definitely.
21 or 22. Keep
Yes.
keep reinventing yourself, keep learning new skills, keep learning new technologies, keep learning about the world, and it opens doors for you no matter how old you are.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. That's very good advice because you really stop, you don't stop learning because the moment you stop learning, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, you start dying. And in your experience, especially in your field, being in the financial industry, we're talking about money. Money is not something you detach from. It's something that basically makes up the bane of our existence. We use money for everything we have to do in life. And I will trust your judgment because you're a certified financial
Mm.
planner. You're a money man. You have your company, BFG Financial Advisors. So while running, what has been your experience like being able to manage your financial planning firm along
Mhm.
with while running your media platform and your podcast? What are the key turning points that shifted you from the typical traditional financial advisor into someone that is building an education and media ecosystem around money and retirement?
That's another wonderful question, and I'm glad you asked it because
Yeah.
financial advisors, we're not all the same.
Sure.
There's a lot of different types of advisors and organizations and companies and firms and so forth.
Hmm.
And while at the end of the day, our objectives might be the same, which is to help families or businesses or others with their finances, we all have different passions. And so the turning point for me was when, and I was in my 30s, when I started taking on other advisors in the firm, not only training and mentoring them, but giving them an opportunity to buy equity and to become partners
Oh.
so that we actually all align. So, we now have 8 shareholders in the firm who are on this
Nice.
bus for the long term, and we're not all the same. So to me, there are 3 different types of financial advisors. And I don't mean the technical piece. I mean in terms of our humanity, what we like to do.
Yeah.
There are business builders, practice builders, and brand builders. The business
Mm,
builders are people who are really good with things like HR and employees and systems and workflows and can really run a company. That is not me. I am not good at that, but we have somebody who's amazing at that. And then there's the practice builders. Practice builders in a financial setting should be doing nothing but meeting with clients all day because that is their highest and best use and it's what they love to do and they should do it all day long. That
yeah.
was me for a very long time. But then there's brand builders. Brand builders are people who want to sort of carry the flag and tell the story and grow the organization. And so I've always been a bit of a brand builder. I like to do business development. The very thing that scares people out of certain industries, including ours, which is the idea that you have to meet new people and grow the business and add clients, that was always the fun part for me. So now I get
Wow.
to do it on a much bigger scale where
Yes.
now I get to make that my singular focus is growing the organization and making sure that our whole team is awesome. I get to mentor and coach, but not supervise or manage because I'm an awful boss. I am no one's boss. I haven't been anyone's boss in years. I'm a terrible
Wow.
boss. I think, and I'm not picking on myself. I'm just not good at it.
Mm,
I'm impossible to please as a boss. And so it wasn't good for anybody for me to be in that seat. So I think the thing that transformed me and BFG was adding people who were different than I am to our ecosystem. So that means lots of different kinds of diversity, including interests and what brings us joy. And so having that type of diverse environment has been a godsend for us because we've all been able to play to our strengths instead of trying to work on our weaknesses, which no one likes to do.
That's really amazing. And it also goes to show the quality of person you are. You're able to own your strengths and own your weaknesses. And one of the things I like to say about entrepreneurs is not just the key moment of being an entrepreneur is not just making profits. It's it's selling your idea so much so that you have loyal people. Your employees become your partners because you've sold that idea so much to them and they believe in your dream. Because your customers are just buying into your dream. They're buying into the solution you're providing. But your employees and your partners who become your partners are buying into the dream that you see. And that's what makes you successful. That's when you've actually achieved your goal as an entrepreneur. And you've done that beautifully, being able to now pour into people, mentor them. Kudos to you, Eric, for that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. No, that's the fun. For me, that's the fun part. Some people would hate it. That's okay.
Yeah,
That's what makes the world go round. We all like to do
exactly.
different things. And if we can, and if you spend your day doing something you enjoy, you don't wake up in the morning and dread your day. That's that simple. I woke up this morning knowing I was going to get to talk to you, and that was a highlight. I was looking forward to that. This
Aw,
is fun. This is fun for
this
me,
is
or I
fun.
wouldn't do it.
Yeah, definitely. Because I get to meet people. I get to draw from different ways of thinking. And at the end of the day, it leads to one thing, which is purpose. A lot of people are still finding it difficult to live their purpose, but someone like you're already living it out and you're showing people that this is what to do. Everybody's purpose might not be the same. You might not coach people into their purpose because you don't know what it is, but you're basically giving everybody a template on what to follow and how to identify it, which is why it's a gem speaking to people like you today,
Oh,
bright minds, for
thank
all the
you.
way from across the world, across the pond. Right?
Across the pond, yes, that's a large body of water.
It's a large
It's a large body of water, yes.
price. You talk about financial literacy as a key to well-being and freedom. So from where you
Yep.
sit today, what are the biggest knowledge gaps you've seen that's successful professionals and business owners need to um, are lacking in their field, and how do these gaps quietly cost them wealth over the next decade?
Well, the gaps are everywhere. The gaps are rampant because young people are not taught how to handle money. It's not taught in schools in any material way that makes a difference. It's rarely taught at home because it's not talked about. People grow up in a home where money is a little bit taboo. There are subjects you don't bring up at the dinner table, and money sometimes is one of them. And so the
Yeah.
only way you learn as a young person is by watching your parents, and sometimes it's watching them do the wrong thing or watching them fight about money. Unfortunately, that's one of the things that marriages struggle with the most. It's kids and
Mm,
money. So if money is one of those triggers, and you grow up watching your parents argue about money or worry about how they're going to make the bills, then you develop a real panic around it and a real fear of it. And so you're not taught in schools. And then, in the US, so many young people are borrowing money to get an undergraduate education. The student loans are unbelievable.
mm,
And people who aren't old enough in our country to legally have a beer are making $100,000 decisions, which makes no sense. And they wind up in terrible debt. And it's just a really hard way to start. And so if you fast forward to adulthood, when you get married, you
mm,
bring your financial stories, your money story, you bring to a marriage. And you grew up in a house watching your parents, and he or she grew up in a house watching their parents, and none of them watched it properly. And then you have your own mess to do. Like it's
it's
a
a circle.
foregone conclusion if you are not taught. And I don't
Mm,
mean anecdotally, I mean really taught how it works. You're starting at a disadvantage. And so for those parents who are able to educate their kids on money issues, or who are able to find someone, an advisor or a coach or somebody else who's willing to do that, I think you're giving your kids an enormous leg up. You know, people make money decisions that are very emotional, and they are rarely logical, and they are rarely rational, and
mm,
it's dangerous. And a lot of it is around spending. A lot of it is, we look on social media and everybody's got a perfect life, and we feel like we should have a perfect life. And so we go out and spend money we don't have on things we don't need to show everybody how perfect our life is. That makes no sense. And people do it every
yeah,
day.
because the people
You know,
don't care. The people you're trying to prove a point to don't even care. So why are you stressed?
Well, and who cares what you bought a
Exactly.
boat? That's great. Take me on the boat. I don't want a boat, but I'm happy to go on yours. I don't need to keep up with the Joneses for anything. Yeah, and so we make these decisions faced with huge life decisions regularly. When you're 21 or 22 years old, you get your first job, and one of the first things they do is give you a giant packet for benefits and other things, and they say, we need this back by Friday, please sign up. And it's 100 pages of stuff you don't understand, and you make bad choices because you don't know better. But you can fast forward that to when you're in your 60s and you're thinking about retirement in a different way. There are a lot of decisions that you make that there's no mulligan. You only get one shot. And without the right training and education, people are making mistakes about money well into their adulthood and even their senior years, even down to not educating their kids. If they are well off and they have built some wealth, you have to educate your kids on how they're going to handle it, or they're going to mess it up. You worked your whole life to grow this nest egg, and now you're leaving it and they're going to mess it up because they're not prepared for it. So I think it's a continuum. Financial literacy, if you don't understand the game, you can't play it. Think of the game Monopoly. To play a game, you have to know the rules, and the rules change constantly. So you have to be up on them. And if you see money as a game, which it is, it's not always fun, I grant you, but it is a bit of a game because the rules keep changing. And
Yeah.
if you're able to see it that way, we gamify everything. Everything's got an app, everything's got a badges for this, that, and the other thing. I want a gold star for doing something. You can find any of those tools if they're going to help you, or you can find an accountability partner, an advisor, and a coach, and somebody who's going to help you make better decisions because we're not armed. We're not armed to do it. We don't have the training or education to make our own decisions. If I didn't do this every day, Steph, I would have no idea how to do this.
That's true. The thing is, for the average person, they feel like I need to have like a ton of money before I speak to a financial advisor, because if I just have £1,000 in my account, $1,000, why do I need to speak to a financial advisor? I don't have much. What's your take on that?
Well, not everyone needs a financial advisor, and not everyone's ready for it. That
Okay.
being said, wealth is relative.
Mm.
Someone who, first of all, if you have 1,000 pounds, I don't know what to do with that, because a pound to me is, if I eat too much, I gain 3 pounds. But nonetheless, there is a point where getting some advice makes sense. And when you're just
Okay.
starting out,
Mm.
sometimes it's better to find a financial coach, or it's better to find financial tools. One of the reasons we put out so many financial literacy tools, free online courses and webinars, and then books
Yeah.
and workbooks that are not free, but they're very inexpensive. They become tools to learn. Don't Retire, Graduate is a book and a workbook. And if you go through the workbook, you will wind up with a financial plan, and it will have cost you $12, not a whole lot of money. So I do think that, and yes, dollars, not pounds. We can't do that. But that is an example of when that works. Now, people think they don't have enough money to hire a financial advisor, even when they have what other people would consider a lot of money. Your
Mm.
wealth is relative. I like to quote great philosophers in my book, Steph, and one of the ones that I quote is Chris Rock. And
Okay.
Chris Rock said that if Bill Gates woke up tomorrow with Oprah Winfrey's net worth, he'd want to jump out a window. And that struck me as funny. And that's because wealth is relative. If you're
Yeah.
constantly measuring yourself next to your neighbor or next to what you think somebody's lifestyle is, it doesn't
Mm.
matter. You can only look at it yourself. So I do think getting some advice makes sense for most people. It doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily have to be a financial advisor. It might be coaching or consulting. It might be that you have real money in your employer plan, but not money that an advisor can manage. And some advisors will say, sorry, you don't have enough money. We won't talk to you. I would avoid
Mm.
an advisor like that, like they were contagious, because who are they to say you don't have enough money to pay
They're
for and
protecting
benefit
their
from
management
advice?
fees. They're protecting their management.
You know what, though? We don't have an asset minimum. We do work
Mm.
on a flat fee basis, and we do it so that it can be reasonably affordable for people who are just trying to better themselves. You don't have to have a lot of money to hire a financial advisor. You do have to have a lot of money to hire some financial advisors, but there are others who don't feel that way, who you can align with and spend, 30 or 40 years growing with.
And I imagine, but when you have consultations with your clients, with people, and you review their balance sheets, it tells you whether they're on track to graduate or not. So with your experience,
Mhm.
what does a person's balance sheet looks like when you know that, okay, you're ready to move to the next level, or hey, you need to cut back on this or cut back on that? What are these factors or the pointers you look out for in your client's balance sheet?
Initially, what we want to look for are the red flags, things like
Mm,
consumer debt. Consumer debt is by definition not a good thing. It's
mm,
okay to have a mortgage on a property or a loan on a business or something that's growing your wealth. It's leverage. But if you have car payments or credit card loans or student loans or any of these things, in most cases, they're not good for you. And so on a balance sheet, we'll look at, are there liabilities? Because liabilities, it's like trying to build your mountain of money while starting in a hole instead of starting at sea level, right?
mm.
But there's more to that. There's also like a business has a profit and loss statement. Families don't usually have a budget. In fact, on my show, I refer to the budget as the B word because nobody likes a budget. Nobody wants to talk about it. I'm sorry I
Yeah.
said it twice already on your show.
B
And the
word.
reason is that it's well, to me, budget is like diet. Nobody wants to talk about a diet.
True.
Let's talk about nutrition, but for Pete's sake, don't put me on a diet. Budget's the same way. When
Uh-huh.
you're looking to figure out, are you on track for financial independence? It's about what's coming in and what are you saving? Because if you're not saving it or investing it or doing something positive with it, you're spending it. And that helps determine what your lifestyle is. And then you can take that and you can, with an inflation assumption and a
Uh-huh.
number of years assumed, you can start saying, well, am I on track to be finished at 55 or 65 or 72 or whatever that looks like? And if you are on track, then it's about monitoring and staying there. And if you're not on track, then it's what do we give up or what do we change? Do we work longer? Do we save more? Do we spend
Mm,
less? Do we find a side hustle and start making extra money? Look, there's lots of ways to solve that. And I think the most important thing, like any journey, you have to have that sticker that says you are here. You got to be
okay.
real honest. You got to be real honest with yourself and with your romantic partner, with your spouse or significant other. You've got to be honest with each other. And for Pete's sake, be honest with your financial advisor. Because if you're lying to your financial advisor, that's like lying to your doctor and saying, "No, I don't smoke," and you're 2 packs a day. Something's going to give, right?
Yeah.
So be honest. Get a real assessment. Where are you? And then determine where you want to be. I don't like rules of thumb, Steph. I think this idea that you only need 70% of your pre-retirement income in retirement is bunk. It's nonsense. It's not
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
We want to get as close to 100% of your lifestyle. And that
Exactly.
doesn't mean your income has to be the same because you're not going to be saving some of it anymore.
True.
So it's what you are bringing into your household net of savings that you want to and you want to do it with inflation in mind because the cost
Yeah.
of living keeps going up. And we're going to live longer, most of us, if we're God willing. Most people are going to live longer than they expect, and life's going to be more expensive than we realize.
True.
And retirees, by definition, have a higher inflation rate than the rest of us.
Yeah,
And you say,
because
well,
they,
what do you
they don't
mean?
plan for it.
Well, not only that, but the inflation rate on the things that retirees spend money on is higher than other
Mm,
goods and services. If you're healthy, what you're
mhm.
spending money on is entertainment and travel. Well, they go up by more than groceries typically. If you're not healthy, it's medical care. And in this country, what we spend on healthcare is insane. And then there's also grandkids. If you're blessed to have a family and you have grandkids, the parents aren't able necessarily to do everything that you would want for your grandkids. So you start spending money there too. So I think it's important to have a large enough nest egg that you're not spending principal and that your nest egg is still growing. And if that sounds like a recipe to leave money behind for someone, it is. Don't try to die broke because we don't know how long we're going to live. That doesn't work.
I like what she said. Don't try to die broke because you don't know how long we're going to live.
Yeah, if I knew I was going to live to be 88, I
Yeah.
could plan to spend I could spend my last pound on my 88th birthday and be good. But if I plan to live to 88 and I'm fine till I'm 88, my 89th birthday, I'm going to be living under a bridge. And I don't want that.
Yeah, that's true.
To be young and broke is an inconvenience. To be old and broke is a tragedy. A tragedy.
Mm,
And there are ways to
yeah,
avoid that.
that makes mind blown. My brain is just so.
Well, that's good.
Can you hear like a success story of the fastest turnaround you had with a client? Maybe you guys had a
Yes.
financial plan for like 10 years and he did that in like half the time.
There's so many stories and
Okay.
I have to be careful with details so nobody hears it and
No,
goes, "Hey,
yeah,
wait, that's me."
keep the relevant
Yeah,
details to yourself.
no detail. So The one I think we see most, the quickest fix that there is for people who have some debt and don't realize how to get rid of it. When I wrote my first book many years ago, I wrote a book called Debt Free for Life, and it was all about ways to get out of debt. And so I incorporated that into Don't Retire, Graduate for people who are struggling with that. There are ways, there are strategies, there are things you can do to reduce that and improve your cash flow that can change your life overnight if you do it right. If you don't do it right, all it's going to do is provide a shovel to keep digging, and that's no good. So we see success stories there where we can save people a lot of money per month on their debt service to allow them the freedom to live and not continue to go into debt. So that's a big deal, and we see that a lot. Another thing we see is that we see that assets can be positioned in such a way that they create income that people didn't realize was possible. Particularly as we get older, there are ways to convert an asset to an income stream. There's a number of different ways to do that. And for the right person in the right situation, that can be a game changer where you're like, holy cow, I can be done. I just interviewed somebody for my podcast who wrote a book called Retire Today. And of course, Retire Today. And Jeremy Kyle, nice guy, but we had the battle of the books because I say don't retire at all. And he says retire today. And we came out swinging, but the reality is that he's right in that if you can do the assessment, you might be able to retire a lot sooner than you realize just by making some good strategic decisions and a couple of tactical moves. You might not be able to do everything, but you can do almost anything. So deciding how to prioritize makes a difference too, and planning for the icebergs. Building wealth is not linear. It's not a highway where you're in a car. It is much more like crossing the pond. It is much more like because the tides will take you one way or the other, and you have to constantly reconfigure how you're navigating. It's not a straight line. There are good markets and bad markets, good economies and bad economies. There's times in your life that are more expensive or less. If you're paying for a kid to go to college, that can be wildly expensive. You might have a windfall. You might have a job loss. I mean, there's pros and cons and good things and bad, and it is very much more like navigating a ship than navigating or driving a car. And so that is, to me, it is not enough to say, all right, we're here and we're going there and we're done. You have to constantly be navigating. And I think once or twice a year to take a real fair measurement and a look at that is pretty smart.
Okay. But in your opinion, what would you say is like the top 3 asset class anyone who is serious about their finances should have in their balance sheets?
Wow. I don't know if I should answer that. That's like giving away all the secret sauce. Just in general, to build wealth, you must own things. People don't get wealthy by loaning money. So bonds are not designed, for example, to make people wealthy. They're designed to create income, stability, some safety. Having cash is not going to make you wealthier. However, that doesn't mean you should have no cash. I mean, there's a reason to have cash, whether it's for an emergency or an opportunity, or whether it's just because if the stock market goes bad, you want to make sure you have enough money on the sideline that you don't have to sell at a bad time. But ultimately, in order to build real wealth, you have to have something you own, and equities. I'm a strong believer in capitalism, and I'm a believer in equities. And I think if you own companies, usually that's through either public stock or private equity. I think you are headed the right direction. And people always say, well, what about real estate? And I would say that real estate is a fantastic way to make money if you decide you want to be in the real estate business. It's very, very dangerous to dabble. Don't buy one property and rent it and think that that's going to retire you, because if you have a bad tenant where somebody stops paying their payment, whether it's commercial or residential, you're immediately under diversified. It is so much easier to diversify in public or private equities than it is to diversify in real estate. So real estate's great if you want to be in the real estate business, but don't dabble. How is that? That's as opaque an answer as I could make it. I'm not giving away all the details, but yes, you need to own.
You need to wrap it up with for more information, get my book.
Yeah, come on, sell some books for me, will you, Steph? I mean, it's a good read. It's a fun read.
Get my book and the workbook, so you start off your financial plan on that.
Because that's going to help my financial plan if you buy the book and the workbook. That's how this works.
Definitely.
You see?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I know that one of the key themes in your book and your material so far is protecting your financial castle. So for entrepreneurs, property investors, and high earners who are building assets, what does smart risk management actually look like in the real world? just
Risk
beyond
management,
buying insurance.
yeah,
Yeah,
no, risk management is a lot more than just insurance. And I
exactly.
think people confuse the two. Risk management incorporates a lot of different types of defense. And I'm a strong believer that defense wins championships, and we could talk about lots of different sports. But to me, defense is how you win. And in risk management, that means protecting yourself from the real big mistakes. One of them is liability. One of the biggest risks we face is being sued. One is cybersecurity and making sure that we're not risking our company or our wealth by being hacked into. I mean, if you can hack the Pentagon, you can hack anything. So you have to be careful with
Exactly.
cybersecurity. So liability, cybersecurity, credit monitoring, protecting your identity is real important. Doing the right legal documents, the right estate documents, which vary by state and by country, of course, but knowing that you have handled those things, you've crossed your T's and dotted your I's. With businesses, it means having the right buy-sell agreements, the right partnership agreements, the right incorporations. It means no matter what country you're in, it means that you've got you and your equity partners, whoever they are, have contractually protected each other from each other and from somebody's spouse. One of the biggest risks we face is divorce. And it's not just our own divorce. It could be our business partner's divorce. So that's major. Or it could be our son or daughter's divorce someday that could impact how the family dynamic works. So that's a big deal. Certainly there are things you're going to insure against. You're going to insure against if you die tomorrow. You're also going to want to insure against if you live to be 116. So there's things that are risks that you will want to use that for, maybe disability insurance or long-term care.
Yeah.
But the way I view insurance generally, Step, is that you insure to pass risks you cannot bear. It is not necessary to insure everything. I see people with, for example, insurance on their automobiles where they insure the first dollar, and I'm thinking, if you get a dent or a scratch, it's not going to change your life. Why are you paying extra premium to do that? You want to insure against the big stuff, the accident that hurts
Accidents.
somebody. Not the dent and scratch. It is what it is. It's annoying to most of us, but it's not going to change most of our lives. So
Yeah.
using insurance to pass risks you can't bear, and then trying to insure against everything. And the only thing I know of in this life that you can't really prevent with risk management strategies in and of themselves is a period of extended unemployment. And so if you're a single earner, either because you're not married or because you're in a household where you're the breadwinner, preparing against unemployment means having cash. It means having a cash cushion, because unless you're an entrepreneur, unless you own the company, there's always that risk that, bank A is going to buy bank B and you're going to be out the door. And if you're in a dual income household, you don't need quite as much cash if you're both working, but you still need some, because to me, that is one of the largest risks that we can't bear and we can't fully pass. So you need a strategy around unemployment.
So basically, the strategy for unemployment is having a stash of cash. So how many
Absolutely.
months? Many months is that supposed to cover for? I know they
Well, now
typically
you're
say
asking.
6 months, but it's not.
Well, now you're asking for a rule of thumb. I already told you I don't like those.
You don't do.
I would in a dual income household, probably 6 months of expenses. In a single income household, probably more like 12 months. It's hard to find a job. People are struggling to find work, and I don't think that's unique to the U.S. I think,
Yeah, it's all over the UK as well.
with technological advancements, there are certain jobs that are either going away or changing dramatically, and people aren't retiring because they can't afford to retire. So there's not as many jobs coming in for the young generation to come up because people aren't leaving their posts, right? So
Sure.
it is a demographic issue as well as a financial and economic one, and finding a job is hard. Millennials and Gen Z, who I like to pick on because they're easy targets, but despite my enjoying picking on them because I'm a proud and mostly feisty Gen Xer, they did pioneer the side hustles, and they do have other
Yeah.
means to make money. And I think particularly if you're single or if you're the only breadwinner, having a backup income stream or an income stream you could tap into if you need it is a spectacularly smart strategy. I'm not
Yes.
telling everybody they should have two jobs, but if you have a job and then you also have whether it's a hobby that can make you some money or a consulting practice or whatever it is, whether you're dog sitting or you're doing accounting consulting, it doesn't matter. If there's some other way for you to make money in the event your job ceases to exist, at least for you, to me, that's pretty smart.
Let's go back to your books. Can you share about your books and your podcast?
Yeah. The most recent book is called Don't Retire, Graduate, same as the
Yeah.
podcast, and it is a path to financial independence. And I wrote it to look like a college curriculum. It's written
Mm.
in semesters and years, so the freshman,
Oh.
sophomore, junior, and senior year of your life. That is not to suggest it's a textbook. It's not. I wrote it in first person. I wrote it to be accessible, didn't
Yeah.
use a lot of jargon. I wanted it to be accessible to everybody. And so I look at some of the big events that happen in those stages of your life, and it's not about age so much as stage. So the freshman year of your financial life is a lot of it's about your first employee benefits, and maybe it's about your student debt or other cash flow issues.
Okay.
Maybe it's about deciding how you're going to handle, yes, the B word, the budget, which again, I don't like the B word. But you get into your sophomore year and now it's, well, am I going to get married? Am I going to buy a home? Are we going to have children? How does life change in all those different stages? And they
Yeah.
become major financial components. Not that you should necessarily let the financial tail wag the family dog, but you do need to know what it's gonna do to your finances. And then
Okay.
junior year is really about, now you're in your peak earning years. So you have to not only really tackle investments at a very high level, but you also have to worry about taxes at a different level
Mm.
because now you're in the crosshairs. And then senior year is about making good decisions, not just around retirement, but around legacy, around some of the legal planning, around some of the healthcare planning, and it's designed to be a path so that you can be financially independent. Each chapter
Okay.
is a course. So it's cash management 101, risk management 101, investment management 101, and all the way up to the 400 level. And then yeah, I don't believe in homework. I feel
I have.
roughly the same way about homework as I do a budget, but every chapter has a little quiz at the end. It's just for fun, no grades. And then there's an extra credit assignment. Because I don't know about you,
Mm.
I never liked homework, but I always did extra credit. And so the
Nice.
extra credit assignments in each chapter become the workbook and they
Oh, okay.
become the financial plan. So if you were to go through all of those extra credit assignments, you would wind up with a financial plan, whether you hired somebody or not. And that's really what it was designed to do. You asked about the podcast. I started the podcast. We're recording the premiere of our 7th season, which will be 2026,
Wow.
which is super exciting. Hundreds of episodes, and it's changed over time. It started
Yeah.
as a way to reframe retirement, and what it's become a repository for money stories. We
Mm.
over the years we've had some experts on, and
Yeah.
the thing about experts is most of them are a little dull. And you brought me on as an expert, and I'm trying to make sure I'm not dull. We could talk about off-color things, whatever you want, but it's important to have stories,
True.
really accessible stories. And so I've
Mm-hmm.
interviewed some amazing people. I've interviewed people who were homeless and have now built wealth. I've talked about entrepreneurship and gender issues and race issues and hard things, hard topics that people can tell their money story, and it's been really rewarding. And so the new season starts in January 2026. We release an episode every
Yay.
other Thursday.
We're looking out
It's
to it.
coming.
It's
Every
coming.
other
And
Thursday,
we're
it's
revved up
coming.
for it. I'll make
We
sure to drop
are.
the links. Make sure to drop the links in the description so
Yeah,
our
no,
audience can just
it's
go.
don'tretiregraduate.com is
Okay.
where to find the podcast. And you can also go to
Mm-hmm.
bfguniversity.com, and we have a ton of resources, not just the podcast, but webinars and white papers and online courses and things that virtually all of them are free. The book is not free, but it's not expensive, and there's a lot of resources out there. And we built it like a university with a course guide, just to
Nice.
just to keep it. First of all, it's more fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
It's more fun. And talking about BFG, you've been able to
yeah.
start that company, grow it to the point where you're taking a hands-free approach and
Yeah.
moving on to something else. I know that's building a team, and a team that has become loyal members and partners was one of the crucial factors for you to be able to be on hands-free mode right now. So what do you look out in building your team, in hiring people? What are the factors and the key things you look out when you're choosing your people?
Well, first and foremost, I want to surround myself with really talented, smart, ethical people, give
Mm-hmm.
them the tools they need, and then get out of their way and let them be great. I want to give them resources and opportunity and mentoring and education, but not micromanage. We've tried to surround ourselves. I've tried to surround myself with people who are different than I am, who have different interests, different backgrounds, different experiences, I just think there's an incredible value in having a true mosaic of humanity in your firm. And so we've done that in a way most firms haven't. Most financial advisory firms, at least in the US, all look like me. They're all 50 something plus white guys. And, I'm not beating on those folks. I am one and it's okay. But it's good to have a level of diversity, not for its own sake, but because there's an incredible value in being able to speak to people with whom you have some shared experience. And that really
Sure.
matters. And so if we can find people who are always going to do the right thing and always going to put our clients first, who are going to take pride in their work and who are going to continue to learn for a lifetime, we can create superstars. And we have. I mean, we have a team of advisors, any one of which, if I were to kiss a bus tomorrow, my wife could call any advisor in our firm and be taken care of beautifully. And I just think that's important.
And you've been able to build these people with the level of information and knowledge you've passed on to them. You're able to also spot red flags. So for someone that's watching right now, I know you created 12 relationship questions to decide if someone should keep or fire their advisor. So what are the things people should look out for? What are the red flags? You can name like 2 or 3 that people should
Yeah,
consider when they're having a relationship with their financial advisor to keep or fire them.
sure. Yeah, no, I'm certainly not going to give you all 12.
Definitely.
First of all, I'm not sure I could do that off the top of my head, which is really, that was very creative and thoughtful of you. No, so the biggest ones, one of them is figuring out to whom the advisor owes his or her loyalty. Because if
Okay.
an advisor is employed by a firm, a company, a brokerage firm, a fund company, an insurance company, a bank, it doesn't
Yep.
mean that they're bad people. I'm not painting anyone with that brush. There's some wonderful advisors in all those different environments.
Sure.
But there is a conflict of interest, an inherent conflict of interest if you are selling product and that product is on your company's shelf. There is an inherent red flag to say, well, is this the best thing for me or is this part of some kind of sales contest? That's pretty scary. So
Yeah.
that's one. And again, it doesn't mean that there aren't some wonderful advisors there. It's just that you have to sort of raise that eyebrow and look at if the advice is too proprietary, that can be very scary. Second thing is if someone asks you, how do I pay for your services? And people flinch, it means they don't want to tell you. That's not good either. Transparency is important. Everything we do, anytime you go to a store, there's a price tag on it. What does it cost to work with you? How are you paid? Are you paid on a flat fee engagement? Are you paid hourly? Are you paid based on assets under management? Is it a percentage? Are you paid commissions? Are you paid like how do you get paid? It's a fair question and one every advisor should be able to answer really honestly, openly, and transparently so that there's comfort. And I don't think there's one model that's necessarily the best or better than others. I think there's a great deal of variety there. And I don't think commission's a dirty word. I do think that if you only work on commission, it means that you have to sell a product in order to get paid for your work. That's a red flag to me. It doesn't mean that that's a terrible thing. I mean, people get commissions at clothing stores when you go and buy a new suit.
Sure.
It's not that it's a bad thing. It's that you need to understand the dynamics of it and be aware of it. And there's others, when I look at a firm, is the advisor a single person shop? I think it's real dangerous if your financial advisor works by him or herself, even with a small team. What happens if something happens to them? You have to go build a new relationship. You're immediately stuck. So it's important to know that there's a team of people, I think. I think that's real important, and that they're not all older than you. You don't want your financial advisor to be 20 years older than you any more than you want your doctor to be 20 years older than you, because you want them to be there when the big stuff happens. So having an advisor who's your age or younger, or at least access to one who's younger, particularly if there's mentoring involved, I think is really important. And if this sounds self-serving, to some extent it is, Steph, because that's the way we've built the firm. But I also believe that it's a model that allows for a lot of different engagements. I think it's a red flag if somebody says, yes, you can come in for a consult and it costs X. It should cost nothing. I won't use an attorney who charges me to come say hello and meet him or her. Why would I do that for anybody else? If you have somebody come into the house to build cabinets for you, you're not paying them to show up. You're paying them if
To
you
do
decide to
some.
engage them. You want to get to know them. It doesn't matter what line of work it is. So I get real nervous when somebody charges for their time before you even decided you want to hire them. I think you need to get to know each other and make sure it's a good match. And I do think advisors should be able to describe who a typical client is for them or who a good client is for them. You don't want to be an outlier. You want to
Sure.
be in somebody's wheelhouse. You want to be right in that sweet spot where this is what they do all day so that they really can identify with who you are and what you do. So that's a couple of them.
I mean, I like the last points because, I mean, advisors can advise you on many different things, but it's best to stick to the one that understands your industry or where you're coming from, because it's difficult for for an advisor that is well versed in the insurance space to give you good advice for someone in real estate. It's not like they're not going to give
Correct.
you. It's not like they're not going to give you good advice, but I mean, you're going to trust the real estate advisor better. Yeah, these are reasonable things to look out for, especially for people who are just
Yeah.
getting into the game. So thank you so much for that.
Sure. Well, you also, Steph, you can't be an expert at everything.
Yeah.
It's okay. We use a model that's a little bit like a primary care physician.
Mm-hmm.
Like we want to do the physical exam, we want to look at everything, but then we're not also the cardiologist and the podiatrist. Like we'll
Exactly.
bring in specialists to help with the things where we need that advice. And so
Mm,
it's okay to be a general practitioner. It's okay to be doing the physical exam financially, but you can't also be the specialist in every area. I defy anyone to be great at everything. It doesn't exist.
it can't work that way. I,
Mm-mm.
I I understand that you've worked with a lot of people who have already built impressive careers and been able to grow their balance sheets based on the good advice they've received from you. So, what are the identity and mindset challenges you see that show up during this intervention and the consultations you have with them on how they approach financial freedom and how you guide them into the next chapter of their lives?
I think it starts with being honest. It starts with
Okay.
taking inventory. I think people
But
aren't
are
honest
many
with,
people honest? Are people honest when they come to this
no,
session?
not immediately.
True.
That's
There
like,
has to be
you know,
trust.
you want to get to know somebody and to be
Mm.
able to feel that you can be vulnerable with them. And I do think that takes a little bit of time. Very few people are going to share all of the
Yeah.
picture immediately. I think it's a really important thing to do, but I don't think there's a need for that honesty. And advisors who just smile and nod and take orders that's a waiter, not a advisor. You need somebody who's going to give you tough love.
True.
I say all the time, tough love is still love, right? You
Mhm.
got to hear this and you've got to understand you are not ready to retire. You will run out of money. This is a disaster waiting to happen. And I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings. And if you decide to hire somebody who's going to make you feel better about yourself, that's up to you. But I'm here to make sure that you're okay. I'm not here to make sure that you feel good about where you are necessarily because you might not be in a good place. And we have to be able to be honest with you.
I want to piggyback off what we touched on earlier, because you said it's
Mhm,
not everyone that has money that's happy, and some have little money and they're happier than those that have a bunch of money in their accounts. So,
mhm,
what are the patterns you see that you keep seeing in people that are happiest when they're financially free compared to the
mhm,
flip side? What are the common mistakes or beliefs that show up in people who are stuck or anxious
mhm.
despite the fact that they have good or reasonable income streams?
Great question, and there's a lot of different ways to answer that. So first, let me
Okay.
just say that money does not buy happiness. It
Sure.
does buy things and experiences that might make you happy, but it doesn't buy happiness. And there's an abundance mindset and a scarcity mindset, and it's amazing how many people who have meaningful wealth, and
Mm,
the word wealth in and of itself could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but people who have built a meaningful amount of money who feel poor and are unhappy
mm,
and feel like they don't have enough, they don't have enough, they don't have enough. Money can't buy happiness. It can buy things and experiences that might make you happy, but it doesn't buy happiness. And the challenge is the difference between the abundance mindset and the scarcity mindset. With an abundance mindset, you're in a position where you believe there's opportunity, and when you're in a scarcity mindset, you always believe that there's not.
okay. So I understand that we talked about how the fact that some people make a lot of money, but they're not necessarily happier than those that
Mhm.
don't have as much money in their accounts. So what would you say in your experience are the patterns that keep people from being happier when they have money, and on the flip side, people that don't have as much and they're happier than people that have so much in their accounts? What's that common pattern you see in people?
I'm going to answer that two ways. One, I'm going to answer it for
Okay.
people who are still working. And then
Okay.
I'm going to give you what I consider the three secrets to the happiest retirees, which won't be
Mm.
secrets anymore if I share them with you. So the first thing is
Yeah.
for working people,
Mm.
it's the difference between an abundance and a scarcity mentality. And I see people who by any reasonable definition are worth a meaningful amount of money. And meaningful could be whatever, everyone's got a different definition. Maybe they
Yeah.
have high income, maybe they've built a nice nest egg and they feel like it's not enough, I need to make more, more, more. And it's kind of like running on a treadmill. You can get faster, faster, steeper, steeper, and you're still not getting anywhere. And I think a lot of that happens. People chase dollars or pounds. They chase money for its own sake.
Mm.
And it isn't the end itself. It's a means to an end. And so it comes down to behavior. People who have modest incomes and live within their means and don't overspend and don't buy too much house and don't feel like they need a fancy new car are
Yeah.
always going to be happier humans than people who have three mortgages and fancy everything and feel like they're paycheck to paycheck. Doesn't matter how much money. I mean, I know people who make $1 million a year and couldn't put together a small amount of money. And I know others who make what it by anyone is a middle income, is middle class, and they've built a real nest egg. It's all behavior. So,
Mm.
in terms of retirees, there are
Yes.
three things the happiest retirees have in common. Absolutely three. And this is anecdotal, not scientific, but it's my anecdote, so I get to share it. The first thing is they are debt free. And we can argue about whether a mortgage is okay, and we talk about good debt and bad debt. But at the end of the day, owing no one anything is a
Yeah.
secret to a happier retiree, to feel like, you know what, I'm good. I'm not beholden to anyone financially. So that's number one. Number two is that they have their health. I don't care
Okay.
how much money you have. If you're not healthy and you can't enjoy your life, you're not going to be a happy person most of the time, at least not in the ideal way. So I think you have to take care of your health. And so I consider health and wellness to be very similar to financial wellness. You don't
Mm.
wake up one day, usually when you're 70 years old, and say, I think I'll be healthy now. It's
No.
a life journey.
Yes.
You eat right and you sleep right and you do stress maintenance and self-care and you work out and all the things. So I think financially it's the exact same way. You don't wake up one day and decide, all right, I think I'll be wealthy today. I think what
Mm.
happens is you practice those behaviors for the long term and they become habit. Again, it's the difference between good nutrition and a diet. So for the happiest retirees, in my opinion, they all have their health and have taken care of themselves for their
Yeah.
lifetimes so that they're not wealthy but sitting around. I mean, who wants that? And then the third thing, which I think is by far the most important, and it's hard to say anything's more important than health, but I do think the key to happiness,
Yeah.
particularly long term, is having that sense of purpose. You must
Mm.
have a reason to get out of bed every morning, or you will stop getting out of bed every morning. And the
True.
people who wake up early and start their day and they're excited about it are much better off than the people who sleep until 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 o'clock because they have nothing to do that day.
True.
And, I don't want to be one of those retirees in his pajamas at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because I've got no plans. I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
And I don't wear pajamas, so nobody wants to see that. So, at the end of the day, it's about taking care of yourself. It's about not
Mm.
owing anybody anything, and it's about having a reason to be excited to see the sun come up. And if you can do those three things, there's no reason you can't be a happy human.
And yes, one thing we've always talked about is like people finding their purpose and living a purposeful life, because that's the reason you get up out of bed. Even if you have a
Hmm.
shitty job, once you have that purpose at the back of your mind, it keeps you to keep pushing. I remember the movie, The Pursuit of Happiness. It was the
Yes.
sense of purpose that made him get out of bed despite everything crumbling on his face. He kept going
Yes.
until he struck gold. If you don't have that sense of purpose that's burning within you, it's difficult for you to do anything, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean that you talk about being driven. It's a
Yeah.
wonderful movie, and the gentleman he was portraying, that Will Smith was portraying in that film, was
Yeah.
amazing. I had a chance to see him speak personally, and it's just an amazing
Mm.
story. And it's hard to believe that anyone has that much grit. But I
Mm.
guess when the chips are down, you either show grit and dust yourself off, or you lay there and quit. And that's rarely the right answer.
Yes. Let's wrap this up with a roadmap. I know you don't like giving timeline, but you're still going to give us something. For someone who's listening right now and wants to move from, I hope I can retire someday,
Yeah.
to I'm building my graduation plan. What would you have them focus on over the next 12 months or 12 to 24 months? And where can they plug into your world and if they want deeper
Mhm.
guidance?
First thing is inventory. Figure out where
Okay.
you are. You cannot figure out where you're going to go or how you're going to get there until you know where you are, and be
Mm,
really honest about it. So the inventory is first. And then the second is cash flow. What is
mm,
coming in and what is going out? Look at your family budget or your finances like a business would. What's coming in and what's going out? Because if more is going out than is coming in, then the hole at the bottom of the bucket that you're trying to fill is bigger than the spout. It won't work. You will not make that happen. Those are the
yeah.
first two things that I would do. And shortly thereafter, and again, I feel like this is self-serving, but I also think it's right, is to talk to somebody to be an accountability partner for you, whether it's a financial advisor or coach or someone,
Mm,
because, I think it's just like a trainer in the gym, Steph. We all know how
yeah.
to do push-ups and sit-ups, but if somebody doesn't say drop and give me 20, I might not. So, and
True.
if I have an appointment with my trainer, I show up. And if I don't, I've got other things I'd rather do. And
Yeah.
I think financial planning is the same way. People don't work a long day and then get home and feed their kids and deal with the house and deal with all that and then say, I think I'd like to work on my finances now. They want to spend
Honestly,
half an hour doing nothing before they go to bed. That's
yeah.
not how people generally want to spend their free time. And so having an accountability partner and having that appointment and having that homework assignment or extra credit assignment, as we talked about, I think is real important.
Thank you so much. Yeah, an accountability partner doesn't necessarily mean someone who is like a financial guru. It might just be your friend. Maybe you guys have
Could be.
a similar goals you set for yourself, and you guys hold each other accountable in your financial part. But that brings
Yep.
us to the second part of the segment, which is the firecracker round.
All
So
right,
this
I'm
is
ready. Let me do my calisthenics. Make sure that I'm ready for the firecracker. I'm going to catch one and throw it back at you. You know that. I'm ready.
definitely.
All right, I'm
So
ready.
drum rolls. What's one belief you wish everyone would delete immediately? One money belief everyone should delete immediately.
The one money belief, there's so many. The one
Yes.
money belief everyone should delete immediately
Yeah.
is that money can buy happiness. It
Mm,
can't.
can
It's
buy.
not about a scoreboard. You're not taking it with you. It's about creating a life, not just a living. And so I,
Mm,
I think if there was one thing, it's that making more money does not make you happier. It might, in fact, cause more problems.
okay. So what's one financial habit that has the highest return on efforts in your experience?
Consistency and automation. If
Okay.
you're putting money into a retirement plan from your paycheck, or you're saving
Yeah.
something every month and you're doing things in an automated way,
Mm,
that to me has the highest return, because you eliminate the psychological torture of trying to decide if this is a good time for you or for the market or for the economy or for any of the noise. It doesn't matter. Being automated and being effective that way is the number one highest returning habit. And ideally, it's something that you at least once a year can increase, so that
mm,
it's a habit that gets stronger. It's a muscle you keep
stronger.
working. But yes, doing it in an automated way, saving, investing, and growing your wealth in an automated way where you don't have to think about it, you don't have to take action, and you don't have to wonder, should I or shouldn't I this month? That to
Yeah.
me is the number one thing.
Nice. What would you to say to someone who says, I don't need a financial advisor. I have my chat GPT, I have my AI to do that.
Well, I think there's a benefit to artificial intelligence in
Mm,
terms of tactics, in terms of knowledge, in terms of information, but not in
yeah.
terms of humanity. I know
Mm,
they're working on it, but I don't think I ever want to talk to a bot about my day. I think there's people don't understand. A computer can't understand what it feels like to
mm,
worry about losing a job, or to have a parent pass away, or to have a sick child, or to have a mortgage bill they can't pay. It
yeah.
can't. It can't. The human piece of it, the behavioral piece of it, the empathetic piece of it is not something that I think we can replace.
Mm,
Where should I invest this? Should I be in fund X or fund Y? Algorithms do that now. But I do think the human side of having someone to talk to, I defy AI to become someone's therapist. That's a disaster. So I think having a human to talk to who can identify with some of those things you're going through, and I never want AI to give me a hug either, just for the record.
No
Keep your
AI,
hands to yourself, AI. I don't want it.
no AI hugs. We get it.
No AI. I don't want an AI girlfriend. I don't want AI hugs. I don't want any of those things.
So, what's one book, podcast, or resource on money or mindsets you find yourself recommending besides your own?
I think anything by Daniel Crosby. Dr. Daniel Crosby
Oh,
writes about behavioral finance and all the
nice.
biases that we face and why we do some of the things that we do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's fascinating. It's psychology more than it's finance. It's an intellectual read, but not super heavy. In other words, sometimes you read like Malcolm Gladwell and your eyes go cross because it's such a difficult read. Dr. Crosby does a really nice job with that. He's actually guested on my podcast. He's a super guy, and he's just, I think, the preeminent expert on behavioral finance.
It's amazing. Lastly, completes the sentence. Wealth is really about dash
Well, it's about abundance. It's about
abundance.
amplitude. It's about legacy. Wealth in and of itself is a scoreboard. It's about what can you do with it to make the world better, to make somebody's life better,
Yeah.
to improve something. I mean, wealth it's about abundance. It's about legacy. It's about what you can do with it, not what it is.
Nice. I like how you put it. It's about what you can do with it, not necessarily what it is. Finally, how do you unwind and reset in like
How do I
how do you
well, first of all, any beach, anytime, it makes me
okay.
happy. I'll take a walk on the beach anywhere or sit in a chair and not for like a week, just for like 45 minutes. Like I don't need a vacation. I just need a deep
Yeah.
breath. I enjoy yoga. I enjoy meditation. I enjoy acupuncture. I
Oh,
enjoy massage. I enjoy
nice.
self-care. Like I try to take care of myself because my attitude will always define. Fortunately, my attitude impacts the attitude of an entire room. I never wanted
Mm,
that. I never wanted that power, but I'm told that when I walk in a room, people immediately know if I'm in a good mood or not. And so I try to keep myself grounded and in a positive way because it makes a difference to other people.
what about food? Are you like a foodie? What's your favorite
I
food
love, oh, well,
uh,
my
restaurant?
if you well, if you give me pizza, I could eat pizza every day. I mean, what could be a more American answer than that? It's not Italian. It's American, darn it. So my favorite food is definitely pizza. My favorite drink is either a a good Scotch or bourbon or a good glass of Cabernet.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm a sucker for pizza. You had me at hello.
Eric, it's been amazing, and I'm sure our guests would want to hit you up. So how can we reach you?
A couple ways.
Socials.
One, I mentioned bfguniversity.com. That's where to find all of our resources.
Yeah.
To find the company, it's bfgfa.com. And you can read more about what we do and our advisors and how we do it. And love to talk to anybody. And of course, I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram and all kinds of. I'm not hard to find. Although I will tell you this, Steph. If you go
Yeah.
to Amazon and you're looking for books and you pull up my name, this is a
Mm.
true story and I think you'll enjoy it. It's a great way to close the show. There are two Eric Brotmans who write books. All right.
Oh, okay.
I'm only one of them. The other one is a PhD who writes books on how
Mm.
to toilet train cats.
We know it's not you. We know that's not you. We
It's
know
a
you're the
picture
money
book.
man.
It's a picture book, Steph. It's gross. I am not that guy.
Have you met him before, though? Like, are you guys
No,
related?
no, no, but I've had fraternity brothers send me copies of the book and ask for an autograph, so it's not
Wow.
amusing. You can't make
Oh
that up.
my
That's
goodness.
true.
You can't
Yeah.
make that up.
No.
Wow, it's been a privilege having you on the show. I've had so much, I've learned a lot, I've laughed a lot, and this has been like the best episode so far for me this year. Thank you so much, Eric, for being on the
Well,
show.
Steph, it's been a pleasure. And anytime you want to collaborate or have me back, I'd be honored. And we could certainly take this show on the road too. So whatever you want to do.
I think you should also consider stand-up comedy because you're a
No,
gem.
no. What goes on up here is
I
too scary. I'm not doing it.
think what would be fun, what would be a fun night? Karaoke, stand-up comedy, and lots of drinking, and a wide drive. I don't know if you're a motorcycle kind of guy, but that would be
No, no. I'm
bonkers.
a bicycle kind of guy, but not a motor.
Okay.
So we host our annual planning summit for the firm. We now do what is basically a conference for our firm every year.
Okay.
And the closing party, we do rent out a karaoke bar and we do
Yeah.
enjoy adult beverages and then stagger to our hotel. So I am happy to do karaoke with you anytime.
Okay.
There's only
take the
two
offer.
things in this. There's only two things in this life I cannot do. I cannot golf and I cannot dance, and that's just a thing. It is what
Yep.
it is. But I'll sing. I'll sing anytime.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Eric, for being on the show. And there we have it, guys. This has been a fun and amazing episode. We've learned a lot. And Eric has emphasized on the fact that do not retire. You have to graduate. That's what you have to do. Don't retire out of life. Don't give up. Because retiring is like giving up. Don't give up. Look for something else to live well. Let's continue to turn knowledge into action and breaks into banks. This has been Breaks and Banks with Steph, and this is me signing out. Thanks, Eric. Bye-bye.
Thank you.